What are some very creepy facts? The men of the ship Essex, the true event that inspires the story Moby Dick, avoided islands after being shipwrecked for fear of cannibals. The islands were settled and landing there would have brought salvation to the survivors. Ironically, because of this bypass, the men ran out of food and were forced to eat each other for survival. If the sun exploded right now, you would be blissfully unaware of it for just over 8 minutes while the energy travels at the speed of light to get to you. I hope it explodes at nighttime just to be safe. Edit. Thank you for my first award. Hearing is the last thing to go after you die. You just might hear the paramedics and firefighters call off CPR. After raping his blindfolded victims, the Golden State Killer would be super duper quiet and pretend like he was gone, and right when the poor victims would start to move towards the phone or try to untie themselves, he would scare the shit out of them. The US has lost 6 nuclear warheads in total. Lobsters don't age. Their cells don't decompose. They grow so big that they spend more energy to shed than they can reserve and die of exhaustion. It wasn't until 1987 that the American Academy of Pediatrics declared it unethical to operate on newborns without anesthesia. Until surprisingly recently, the medical community felt it would be dangerous to give infants anesthesia and/or believed that they didn't feel pain.
https://www.bostonglobes.com/ideas/2017/07/28/when-babies-felt-pain/lhk2 a conver 4m3 tanjjwv7m/story.html. Polar bears are the only animals that are thought to actively hunt humans. Edit. Maybe not the only ones, but it's good, no okay sign. Female mummies in ancient Egypt were always more decomposed than their male counterparts. They discovered that this was because male bodies were embalmed a lot sooner than female bodies. Female bodies were kept at the family home until they started to decompose in order to avoid necrophilia at the embalmers. Your eyes have a separate immune system from the rest of your body. If they get damaged in such a way that it affects anything other than your eyes, your regular immune system can attack the damage and will not recognize them, meaning your own body can permanently blind you. What's worse, your body cannot tell the difference between either eye. If one of them gets infected or damaged, your immune system can attack your healthy eye and take away your sight entirely. I once read that you should play dead if a bear attacks you, unless they start licking your wounds, because that means they plan to eat you. That still haunts me to this day. Edit. If it helps, I'm pretty sure I was reading about grizzly bears at the time during one of my fevered grizzly man rabbit holes. If it's black, fight back. If it's brown, grizzly, lie down. And if it's white, say good night. If it's panda, casual bystander. Edit. My first Reddit silver. Thanks matey. Pandas of all things. If it's gummy, put it in your tummy. There's a spider that gives you a 3H long boner. Edit. The boner it gives you is very painful. If it bites you, you might as well dick slap it into next week. The origins of vampires as we know them. Basically, your body has gas build up when you die. I'm not medically inclined enough to explain why. Basically, the gas has to escape somehow, and so it would pass through the vocal cords in the throat. This creates the low moan that makes the body sound as if it was in pain. The people back then had no idea what was happening, and random bodies would just start moaning in pain, and thus they believed that the bodies were rising from the dead, and when stabbed, the gas escaped otherwise, thus leading to the belief that the only way to stop a vampire was to stab a dead body in the chest. This also led to a lot of strange burials, i.e. the man that was buried in a stone wall to prevent him from rising from the dead. I can't really blame them. I'd be freaked out too if a corpse suddenly started to make sounds. Creepy for some, but I find stuff like that fascinating. There's documentaries on YT talking about it. I highly recommend them. Edit. Words cannot describe how happy I am that so many of you provided additional facts. I'm having a blast reading your comments. I don't know much about this topic, and so it's great to have a place where more information and leads are constantly being shared. This is the documentary that I saw. https://youtube.be/6bxe8vbffq4, but there's a ton of others out there with more possibly better information. If you have any recommendations yourselves,
Please link them in your comment. I'd love to see them. Vampires don't moan. They say Blair Blair Blair. Elmer McCurdy was a failed Old West outlaw. His preserved body was put on display in a traveling carnival, and years later he was eventually assumed to be mannequin until he was used on set for the TV show The $6 Million Man. His arm accidentally fell off during the shoot, revealing bone and muscle and that he was a corpse, not a mannequin. Sense of impending doom is an actual symptom that often precedes your death, usually in cases of heart attack. Very creepy for some of us that suffer from anxiety and panic attacks to begin with. Both share that symptom. Edit. As many of you are pointing out. Yes, I used preclude incorrectly. Bacteria and viruses can be frozen for millions of years and still be viably infectious, and having never encountered humanity before, could have no end of catastrophic results should they be uncovered and manage to infect a person or animal. Not to worry though, it's not like millions of ancient pathogens are currently trapped in permafrost, which is now melting bit by bit each and every day. Imagine being totally aware of someone performing CPR but you physically can't move or respond. Well, that's what happens when you get bitten by a blue-ringed octopus. You have approximately 6 minutes between being bitten and someone starting CPR to keep your heart and lungs functioning to ensure you survive, all whilst being totally aware of what is happening to you. Neurotoxins are fun. The really creepy thing about this is one story of a guy who got stung, got CPR performed on him and survived, but went blind because he was lying on his back, eyes open, unable to blink because of the paralysis, staring into the sun. Imagine lying there, unable to move, unable to communicate, the sun slowly burning out your eyes and you can't shut them. In 1975, the CIA had a heart attack gun. It kills people and then the dart denigrates. Just imagine what is classified now. There's a parasite that enters a fish's mouth, eats the tongue and replaces itself as the fish's new tongue. As a fish, there isn't a cure and it sucks. I keep saying stuff I don't mean to say. If you get a blood transfusion and get the wrong type of blood A/B, one of the symptoms is a sense of impending doom. There is a genetic disease called fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva. When tissue is damaged, it is replaced with bone. So over time those affected slowly become encased in a prison of bone just beneath their own skin. They usually have to choose between sitting or standing up for the rest of their life. By the end of their life they have to drink every meal through a straw and can barely move. Most people smell different when they're awake. That's my favorite thing to whisper. Rosemary Kennedy was JFK's sister. She suffered from oxygen deprivation at birth and that unfortunately stunted her mental growth. She had a pretty decent childhood, but as she grew older she began to act out, afraid that her behavior would risk his political career. Her father, Joseph, agreed to have her lobotomized. Her mother, Rose, was against it and forbade him from doing it, so he did it behind her back when she went on a trip. After the operation, Rosemary's already low IQ was lowered even further, to the point she could no longer walk or communicate. Her family had her locked up in an institution and basically disowned her. They never visited and never publicly acknowledged her anymore. Rosemary died at the age of 86. Her mother never forgave her husband for what he had done. The Chankiri tree is a tree in the Cambodian killing fields against which babies and small children were bashed after their parents had been killed. There are upwards of 300 active serial killers in the world. Seems low honestly. 300 is a lot, but out of 8 billion. Famous last words though. Since 1900, over 13,000 people have been murdered by serial killers in the USA. The astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger most likely didn't die until they hit the water miles below the initial explosion. Over 90% of serial killers choose their victims through sexual desire. In fact, many serial killers have been caught because they returned to the body of their victims to masturbate. Since 2007, at least 20 detached human feet have been found on the coasts of the Sailor Sea. One reason that crows and ravens are associated with death is because they would often follow armies as they marched to battle. Being both carrion birds and extremely intelligent, they realized that a large group of armed men marching on one direction meant that there would be a tasty meal of corpses to eat soon afterwards. The Colombian serial killer Pedro Alonso Lopez, who is known as the Monster of the Andes, raped and murdered over 300 girls from Ecuador, Peru and Colombia. However, after he was caught and imprisoned for 18 years, he was put in a psychiatric hospital. There he was reviewed, declared to be sane and was set free, in spite of his blatant avowal that he fully intends to kill again. Since he was released in 1998, nobody knows where he is or what he's doing. He is supposed to be 71 years old at present. He is known for being the most prolific killer ever. There is a fungus, cordyceps, that can actually brain control insects, forcing them to move to a higher location where they will eventually die and release more cordyceps spores. https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=shookbibble8. Your brain can play tricks on you to make you see monsters in the mirror, called the Troxler effect. The Troxler effect is an optical illusion that affects how you perceive things, both visually and mentally. Humans' eyes don't reflect light at night like animals do. I like to say this fact to my wife at a campfire. A fire whirl can go as big as an EF3 tornado. In 1923, such happened in Japan during an earthquake. The son of a bitch killed 38,000 people in less than 15 minutes. They got hit by a tornado that was on fire in the middle of an earthquake that caused a tsunami, all while surrounded by firestorms. That's some sci-fi superstorm shit. Jesus Christ. The bottom of Lake Superior is cold enough that the bodies of dead sailors just remain. They don't really decompose because it's at freezing temperatures, so they instead get a coating of adipose. I think that's how it's spelled, which is liquid body fat, hardened around them. Gordon Lightfoot wasn't lying when he wrote "The lake never gives up her dead." Source: The lake that never gives up her dead. Ask a mortician. The human body can be drained of blood in 8.6 seconds given adequate vacuuming systems. Not everyone can afford a Dyson. According to Abe Lincoln's bodyguard Crook, he said Lincoln had a dream about his own assassination 3 nights in a row before he was killed. Crook told Lincoln not to go on that fateful night, and all Lincoln said was goodbye, Crook, before he went to the play. This was very odd, as Lincoln always said, "Good night, not goodbye." Cannibals find the palm of the hand the tastiest. Joke's on them. I had my dick in my hand before. Crocodiles can gallop like a horse. I don't like knowing this, so I am cursing you people with this knowledge as well. Fortunately, alligators cannot. So that's how you tell them apart. Yeah, but now I'm confused how to tell a horse and crocodile apart. A single tiger has killed over 436 people in India. Remember that bath salts cannibal guy from a couple years back? He wasn't high on bath salts when he did that. That was just media speculation and bullshit. They only found pot in his system during the autopsy. We still have no idea why he flipped out.